The Killer was directed by David Fincher, starring Michael Fassbender as the titular character. And yes, I do mean that. Michael Fassbender definitely gets minimal dialogue and you hear a lot of his inner thoughts, and he's never really named per se. So the movie literally credits him as the killer. And this is of course Fincher, one of my favorite directors, reuniting with Andrew Kevin Walker, the writer of Seven. And I reviewed all of David Fincher's movies in the past in the build up to May. So a lot of you might already be well aware of this, but I feel like the crime thriller is very much David Fincher's wheelhouse. The plot of this movie follows the titular assassin who gets embroiled in an international manhunt after a hit goes wrong. And that's basically all this movie is. It's basically showing you this guy on the job and basically showing you how precisely he gets his job done. Now that might not sound appealing to a lot of people, but let me tell you this. With Fincher's sleek and stylistic direction, very precision heavy, this movie is definitely worth at least one watch to examine it. And I feel like it's only fitting that in a movie which is centered around a character who revolves around the precision aspect of his job, David Fincher is all about precision as a filmmaker, so I think this is a perfect screenplay for him to tackle. Like, nobody else could have directed this movie. You take one look at it, you look at the opening credits, you look at the cinematography, you look at the framing of his characters. Like, you don't even need to do any research. You can definitely tell that this is David Fincher and this has his style written all over it. And I think it's definitely the strongest aspect of this movie is the overall technical prowess and the direction. Absolutely marvelous movie in that regard. And I think the casting and the acting overall is pitch perfect. Michael Fassbender is extraordinary in this part. Even though this is a character who is very much a stone-cold villain, Fassbender is getting across as much as he can with this part. Tilda Swinton also, brilliant actress, and she has an awesome sequence in this one. And I feel like the best thing I can compare this movie to is actually Drive, starring Ryan Gosling. That movie is more so centered around just watching a guy doing his job, but it's a very fascinating movie to look at just because of the filmmaking by itself. I would put The Killer in that same category, even though yes, this is very much a crime thriller, and it can get very bloody. The kills in this are very gruesome. This movie might not appeal to the mainstream audience who just kind of want to sit there and watch a guy do his job. And yeah, even though David Fincher does a brilliant job with this filmmaking, and he's definitely using this movie to show off his skills, like, there's something about this movie that I really wanted more out of. And I've been thinking about it a lot ever since I turned this movie off. And I feel like it might be the emotional investment in our main character. Because think about it, how many of these revenge-driven thrillers have we seen? Hundreds of them, right? And all of these assassins at the center of these stories have some sort of redeeming quality to them. Now, this movie is very smart in the sense that it does not condone our main character's actions in any shape or form. But it's like, how do you root for a guy whose redeeming quality is killing someone just so their kids couldn't see the actual way that they died? Like, I don't want to get too deep into spoilers, but I swear to God that's what happened. So I would have really loved it if the script actually digged into what Fassbender's motivations were as the killer. Like, yeah, you probably get service level in this writing, but I really wanted to see a lot more of this guy's personal life. Why is he the way that he is? Why does he feel like he has to go around and kill all these people that he does? And unfortunately, I'm sorry, The Killer honestly left me with more questions than answers about why Michael Fassbender's character actually went through all this trouble. So with that said, am I glad that David Fincher is going back into the category that made him famous in the first place and the genre that made him famous? Totally. I think he can make a really great crime thriller, as you've seen with Seven and Fight Club and Zodiac. All those movies are top tier, fantastic crime movies. Go check those ones out for sure. The Killer, I feel like, is a movie that I'm glad I watched once. I don't know if I need to see this movie again. I don't know how much rewatchability this has. It's something that I feel like I can definitely examine down the line because much like Drive, the first time I saw that movie, I was like, you know, I liked something about that movie. I don't know what it is, though. I don't know if I could get into Ryan Gosling as a human being and just sitting there watching him do his work. Like, what's interesting about that? But despite the lack of rewatchability for The Killer, there is no denying that Fincher continues to prove himself a master. There's no denying that Michael Fassbender is a true heavyweight in Hollywood. And I think if you're a film aficionado, if you're a fan of David Fincher, I would recommend watching this, but let's face it, you were probably going to watch this movie anyway. I'm going to give The Killer a B+. Yeah, this is still definitely rock solid, but I don't know, man. I feel like there were some missed opportunities that really hold this movie back for me. Let me know what you think of The Killer down in the comments section. Let me know what your favorite David Fincher movie is out of his filmography, and there's a lot to pick from. Because I love discussing all new things in movies and entertainment with you lovely viewers on the regular. This channel is the place to be if you want to keep up to date with all that jazz. So do consider subscribing and tap on that thumbs up as well. That would be a humongous help. And stay tuned for more videos very soon as I wrap up my Hunger Games playlist in the build up to the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes this weekend. Should be a fun ride, guys. Can't wait to have you join in. Y'all are the best. Thank you so much again for tuning into the channel. And with all that being said, back talk commence.